What if the greatest battles of your life were never fought outside of you? What if the real enemy wasn't your boss, your partner, your family, or even the world, but something far closer? Something that lives inside your own mind? Think about it. How many times have you stood at the edge of breakthrough, at the edge of success, only to trip over your own shadow? How many times have you worked for something, dreamed about something, prayed for something, then just when it was within reach, you pulled the rug from under yourself? This isn't bad luck. This isn't fate. This isn't weakness. It has a name: self-sabotage. And it might just be the quietest, most powerful force shaping your life. Self-sabotage isn't laziness. It isn't a flaw in your character. It is something far more subtle, far more ancient. It is the subconscious mind trying to protect you. Imagine a guardian living inside your mind whose only mission is to keep you safe. It whispers, "Stay small, don't risk, don't step out. If you stay hidden, you won't get hurt." And so, in its desperate attempt to protect you, it locks you inside a cage that looks like safety, but feels like slow suffocation. And what makes it worse is that most of us don't even see the cage. We call it bad timing, bad luck, other people, the economy, the world. But deep down, it's often us. Think of it like planting a tree every morning, watering it with your effort, your hope, your plans, only to sneak out at night and cut its roots. That's self-sabotage. You dream, you plan, you work, and then you cancel it all out in the shadows. Maybe you procrastinate until the chance slips away. Maybe you choose partners who treat you poorly again and again, and then ask, "Why does this keep happening to me?" Maybe you pick fights just when things are going well. Maybe you quit just before results show up. These are not accidents. These are patterns, and every pattern has a reason. But here's the hard truth. The reason doesn't live out there. It lives in here, inside. Your mind is wired to avoid pain more than it is wired to chase joy. Growth looks dangerous to the brain because growth is unknown, and the unknown feels unsafe. So even when your heart is screaming for change, your subconscious pulls the brakes. It would rather you live in a familiar pain than step into an unfamiliar possibility. That's the twisted logic of the brain. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's the heart of self-sabotage. We repeat patterns not because we want them, but because they are familiar. Pain that you know feels safer than joy that you've never experienced. And so you date the same type of person. You quit the same way. You shrink at the same moments. You call it fate, bad luck, God's will, karma. But in reality, it's the unconscious directing the show. And unless you drag it into the light, it will keep pulling the strings. The Stoics knew this too. They said, "A man chained by his habits is not free." And that is what sabotage is, chains that look like comfort but feel like prison. Ask yourself, how many times have you said, "I always ruin things for myself," or "Every time I get close, something happens"? That something is not the universe punishing you. It is the shadow inside you, replaying the same script. But why would the brain sabotage success? Why would it cut down the very tree it planted? The answer is protection. The brain equates success with exposure, exposure with risk, risk with pain. If you succeed, people might see you. If they see you, they might reject you. If they reject you, you'll hurt. So the brain says, better to stay small, better to delay, better to ruin it now than risk pain later. That's why people procrastinate, overthink, or start arguments with people they love. It's not random, it's protection. But protection has a cost, a life half lived. You've seen it before in yourself. When you're afraid of rejection, you push people away first, so you never have to face being left. When you're afraid of failure, you delay action until failure becomes inevitable, and then you say, "See, I knew it." When you're afraid of being seen, you make sure to stay invisible. You play small, you hide your talents, you bury your voice. The tragedy is that in protecting yourself from imagined pain, you create real pain. In protecting yourself from rejection, you create loneliness. In protecting yourself from failure, you create regret. In protecting yourself from being seen, you create invisibility that slowly erases you. That's the paradox of sabotage. And it shows up everywhere, in the relationships that collapse right when they start to blossom, in the careers where you never take the shot, in the dreams you bury under excuses, saying someday, when someday never comes. You already know it deep inside. You feel it in those moments when you wonder, why do I do this to myself? That's the shadow speaking. That's the subconscious holding the wheel. But here's the hope. If your mind is powerful enough to sabotage you, it is powerful enough to free you. And breaking free doesn't require 10,000 steps. It starts with awareness. The first step is to catch the thought, that whisper that says, "I'll start tomorrow, I'm not ready, I can't do it." Don't let it slip by unnoticed. Stop it in its tracks. The second step is to name it. Say out loud, "This is fear. This is protection, not reality." Naming it breaks its spell, because what you can name, you can confront. The third step is to replace it. Take one small action in the opposite direction. Send the email, make the call, speak up, do the thing, no matter how small. Each time you do, you teach your brain a new script. You prove to your subconscious that growth does not equal danger. You begin to rewire your mind. Catch it, name it, replace it. Simple, but not easy, because the shadow doesn't vanish overnight. It will return, whispering, pulling, protecting. But each time you choose differently, you weaken its hold. Each time you replace sabotage with courage, you step closer to freedom. And soon, what once felt like chains will feel like wings. The truth is, your greatest enemy has always been within. But so has been your greatest ally. The same mind that sabotages you can set you free once you learn its language. And freedom doesn't come in one dramatic moment. It comes in small, daily choices. In the second you notice the excuse, in the second you choose courage over comfort, in the second you refuse to cut the roots of your own tree. So ask yourself right now, are you ready to stop standing in your own way? because the life you dream of is not waiting out there. It is waiting in here, inside you, behind the walls you've built yourself. Tear them down. Step forward. The world doesn't need the smaller version of you. It needs the real one. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause, reflect, or recognize your own patterns, don't let it slip away. Subscribe to Mystiwave, where we bring psychology and self-help to life in ways that speak to your soul. Together, we'll uncover the shadows, and together, we'll turn them into light.